You know, there must be an awful lot of people in this world who need love and affection, because the signs of this are all around us. For example, I heard not too long ago that some 40 million women watch the soap opera programs every day. I don't know whether this figure is true. I sort of question all of these figures. But at least there's a lot of women that watch these regularly, sort of absorbing love through osmosis. And men read an awful lot of sexy magazines. Men, of course, wouldn't dare read a love story. Men have to read sexy magazines. But at the basis of this, what we're all searching for, I think, is someone to love and someone who loves us. Now, in today's world, there's all kinds of ways that a married person can get love. And one of the most common ways that we encountered in marriage counseling is to try to get love through fantasizing love, through building up a lover and refusing to face reality. Let me explain what I mean just briefly. Let's take a woman as an example. And she's not getting what she needs from her husband at all. So perhaps she starts watching the afternoon soap operas. And she thinks about love and absorbs some here, but this isn't enough, because every person needs real love and affection. But she doesn't want to face this guy. She doesn't want to solve the problems that are between them, because this is hard. It takes a lot of communications, a lot of patience. So she starts feeling sorry for herself and thinking about what a slob he is. And the next step, of course, is to start thinking about some other guy. So she starts dreaming a lot about another lover. And this is where the whole situation gets kind of ridiculous. Because as she dreams, she paints this man into the type of person that she wants him to be. Sometimes, for example, she looks at the guy next door and she says, "Oh, isn't he great? He is a real man." Because how does she see him? She never sees him in real life. She always sees him at a party where he's the life of the party, where he's got his best foot forward. And so she dreams and she fantasizes until finally she gets involved with the guy. And with this one night, they come together and they make love. And you know, the unfortunate thing about this is so many times this thing is tremendous. She does have, for the first time in years and years, this big climax, this big emotional release. It's great. Why? Because she's living with a dream man, not a real one. And she's prepared herself to live with this guy through her dreams. But the unfortunate thing about this dream world is that it's like all dream worlds. As soon as it becomes real, it ceases, it stops. She gets involved. She starts with a little sleeping around. And pretty soon, this becomes a continuing thing. And then there's a divorce and a mess with the kids. And then she moves in and the situation becomes real. And what does she discover? She discovers that this guy, too, has got dirty socks that he strews around the room, and that he belches at the table, and that in many ways he's just like the guy that she married in the first place. And this, to me, is something that doesn't make any sense at all. This constant looking for simple ways of solving sexual relationships. This turn your husband off or turn your wife off because he is not what I expected him to be. Look for somebody else. Build a fantasy world, a dream world. Doesn't it make a lot more sense to build a real, strong sexual love right at home? And if you want to do that, don't you first have to build yourself a strong sexual lover? Some of you that have heard me talk before to large groups and on records have heard me speak about Sigmund Freud, and not always in a very flattering way. But Sigmund, I think, was a very wise person with a lot of understanding of human psychology. And one thing that he really contributed to us was some exact words, exact ways of describing things. For example, Sigmund Freud used to talk quite often about a castrating woman. You think about this term, castrating. Actually castrating a person. But the way that Sigmund referred to castrating was with words, with sarcasm, with hostility, with cutting a man down. And I think maybe that all of us, and every one of us that are married, need to think of ourselves as sometimes being castrating people. You know, all the way along we've been saying one thing. We've been repeating it till probably you're sick of hearing it. It's this little expression that if you want a lover, you have to build a lover with plain, decent, human treatment. All right, let's look at the woman, for example, that's married to a man, and she is constantly criticizing him. How does she make him feel? Does she make him feel masculine, confident, loving? Or does she make him feel like a worm? And when he gets in bed at night, how does he act? If he's been castrated all day long, he acts like a castrated man in bed. He's begging, whining, pleading, doing everything except performing a male role. So, ask yourself a question. Don't ask yourself a question. Tell yourself, ladies, sometimes I am a castrating woman. And then think about those times. Because in marriage, we're close. We're very close. We rub up against each other constantly. And we'd be something less than human if once in a while we didn't nag, if we weren't sarcastic, if we didn't do something to destroy each other. But it's important to know that we're not just cutting down another person, that in the process we're also destroying a lover. You know, this castrating thing in marriage, though, is a two-way street. Because, again, let's take a look at the man whose wife is frigid and cold. How did she get that way? Because she wanted to be? Well, partly, of course, she got that way because of the way she was brought up. She was brought up, perhaps, to fear sex, to be afraid of herself, to feel that nice girls aren't supposed to be too eager about this thing. And these things don't automatically change in marriage. They go on, and they become a part of the person. But in almost every case where we have a woman who is inclined to be frigid or inclined to be cold, we also have a man who is doing an excellent job of making her frigid and cold. Again, the castrating thing. Actually, physically castrating this person by destroying her feelings about herself, by running her down, by criticizing, by comparing her to mother. How many times have you guys in your younger years compared your wife to mother? And what does this do to her as a sexual person when you do? So think about this. Maybe you want to make it one of your household words. One of those things that you use with a little humor sometime. Ask each other now and then, do we castrate each other? And is this a necessary thing? Are we trying to win something here? Or are we trying to love each other? And if we're trying to love each other, then you and I, each one of us, has to spend most of our time building a lover.